Hey, I'm Jake. I'm 23 and I work as a barista at a coffee shop just outside of Portland. It's one of those small local spots with wooden counters, a chalkboard menu, and the same four songs playing on a loop. I live in a cheap apartment 10 minutes away by bike. No roommates, just me and my dreams of opening my own place someday. Most days here feel the same. Regulars come in, get their orders, small talk, smiles, tips, and they're out the door. I don't mind it. I like the rhythm, the predictability. But 2 weeks ago, something changed. She walked in. I hadn't seen her before. Not once, and I swear I would have noticed her. She looked elegant. That's the word. Not flashy, not trying too hard, just effortlessly put together. She looked like she belonged somewhere more upscale than this corner cafe. But there she was, standing in line like everyone else. She ordered a cappuccino with almond milk. Her voice was soft, polite. She smiled as she waited. And when I handed her the cup, she left a $5 tip without saying anything. Just smiled again and walked out. The next morning, same thing, same order, same seat by the window, same soft smile. She didn't have headphones and no phone in her hand. She just sipped her coffee and looked outside. And then she left. The next day and the day after that, for 2 weeks, she came in every single morning. Always alone, never in a rush, never with friends, always left a tip, and always looked like she had just stepped out of a magazine shoot for Timeless Beauty. There was something about her that stuck with me. Not just the looks, though. Yeah, she was stunning, but something else. A calmness, a kind of quiet strength. I didn't even know her name, but I started timing my shifts around the morning crowd just to make sure I'd be the one behind the counter when she came in. I'd act like I wasn't paying attention, like it was just another order, but I was always paying attention. I told myself not to make it weird. I mean, she was obviously older, probably in her early 40s, and I didn't want to come off like some guy chasing a fantasy, but something about her made her hard to ignore. And even when I tried not to think about her, my brain just circled back. This morning started just like the others. She walked in right at 8:12. Same calm pace, same confident walk. The door chimed, and even though I was in the middle of steaming milk, my head turned. I saw that beige coat she always wore, and those black leather gloves she took off finger by finger. She approached the counter. I already had her cup in my hand before she even said anything. "Good morning," she said with a soft smile. "Morning," I replied, trying not to sound too eager. "Cappuccino with almond milk." She gave a small nod. "You remember, I smiled back. "Of course." I made it just right. I always did when it was for her. The milk was silky smooth, the foam perfect. I added a little cocoa powder hard on top. She didn't ask for it. I just did it. When I handed it to her, I paused. I didn't plan to say anything, but it just came out. "You look amazing for 42. Her eyes shifted, surprised. Not offended, not awkward, just surprised. She tilted her head a little, then smiled wider than usual. "Most men your age don't notice." That moment felt frozen. She said it like it was a joke, but her eyes were serious, like it meant something. Like I just cracked a door she kept closed. I didn't know what to say back, so I just smiled, nodded, and glanced down awkwardly at the register. She held my gaze for a second longer than usual, then gently took the cup from my hand. "Have a good day, Jake." She walked to her usual seat, sat by the window, sipped her cappuccino, looked out like always, but this time she looked back at me once, just once, and then she left. The door closed behind her and I just stood there, cup in hand, heart beating a little too fast for a regular Tuesday morning. That one line replayed in my head over and over. "Most men your age don't notice." I didn't sleep much that night. It wasn't because of anything bad. It was the opposite, actually. That one line she said kept running through my mind like a loop I couldn't turn off. "Most men your age don't notice." It was just a sentence, just a response to a compliment. But the way she said it, soft, a little amused, a little surprised, it didn't feel like small talk. It felt personal, like she meant something else under the words. I kept asking myself, was that an opening? or just a passing comment. But the longer I thought about it, the more I realized that if I didn't at least try to talk to her more, I'd regret it. And I hate regrets. The next morning, I showed up at the cafe earlier than usual. I didn't want to risk missing her. I trimmed my stubble, put on the cleanest shirt I had, and even made sure my hair looked decent. It's dumb, I know, but I wanted to look like I cared without looking like I tried too hard. 8:12, like clockwork, she walked in. Same coat, same gloves, same calm eyes. But this time when she saw me at the counter, I swear her smile came a split second earlier. "Good morning," she said. "Good morning," I replied, grabbing her usual cup. "Same thing, please." As I made the cappuccino, I felt my heart thumping a little harder than it should have. This was just another customer, but it didn't feel like that. I handed her the cup, cocoa heart and all, and this time I didn't let the moment pass. "So I was wondering, Ayesa," I said, wiping my hands on a towel, "are you free this weekend?" She raised an eyebrow, slightly more amused than surprised. "Depends. Why do you ask?" "I've got tickets to this outdoor light show. It's nothing fancy, but it's kind of a local thing. It's beautiful at night. I figured maybe you'd want to go with me." She looked at me for a long second, not saying anything, just searching my face, maybe trying to decide if I was serious or worth the trouble. Then she smiled again. "You're full of surprises. Is that a yes?" She sipped her cappuccino. I am still on mine. "Sure, I'd like that." We exchanged numbers. I wrote mine on a napkin. She typed hers into my phone. Before leaving, she said, "Text me the details, and thanks for asking." The moment she walked out the door, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. My coworker, Jamie, who'd been pretending not to eavesdrop the whole time, came up behind me. "Dude," he whispered, "did you just ask her out?" "Yeah." He gave a low whistle. "She's like, what, 10, 15 years older?" "Maybe. I don't know. Does it matter?" Jamie shrugged. "She's gorgeous. I'm just saying, bold move." Saturday couldn't come fast enough. I texted her Thursday afternoon, told her I'd pick her up outside the cafe at 6:30. She replied with a thumbs up emoji and a short, "Looking forward to it." That one message had me smiling for the rest of my shift. When Saturday finally came, I cleaned my car like I was prepping it for a date with royalty. I threw on a dark green button-down and decent jeans. Nothing too dressy, but not the usual worn t-shirt either. I got to the cafe a few minutes early and parked across the street. She came out right on time and she looked stunning. No coat this time, just a simple black sweater, dark jeans, and a long gray scarf. Casual but elegant. She stepped into the car with a polite smile. "Hi." "Hey," I said, probably a little too nervously. "You look amazing." "Thanks," she said. "You clean up pretty well yourself." The drive to the show was filled with light conversation, music, taste favorite foods, dumb childhood stories. I asked if she was originally from around here, and she said no. She'd moved here recently. When I asked what brought her to this town, she hesitated just a second. "Let's just say life took a turn," she said gently. I didn't press. Something in her voice said, "Not yet." At the venue, we walked through a garden lit with thousands of glowing lanterns and floating lights that shimmered on the water. It was magical, like something out of a movie. She kept stopping to take it all in, and I kept watching her, not the lights. "I can't remember the last time I did something like this," she said softly. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" "It's a very good thing," she replied. "Thank you for this." We talked more than I expected. About books, about travel, about work. I told her I worked here full time and saved money to one day open my own place. Not just a cafe, but something special. She listened, really listened. As we walked back to the car, she said, "You surprised me." "How so?" "You're young, but you have direction. Most guys your age are still figuring out who they are." I shrugged. "I still am." "Maybe," she said, "but you notice things. That's rare." That line hit me. We reached her building just after 10 p.m. I walked her to the entrance, not knowing what to expect. She turned to me, her keys in hand. I hope this isn't the last time we meet, she said. I smiled. It won't be. I'll text you. Please do. And then she stepped in a stimmicked. I walked back to my car, heart beating like I just won something. I didn't know what exactly this was between us. Not yet, but I knew I wanted to see her again. She wasn't just a beautiful woman in her 40s anymore. She was real with layers I hadn't even begun to understand, and I couldn't wait to learn more. I didn't want to come off as clingy, so I gave it a few days before texting her. She came into the cafe like usual. Same time, same order. And we shared a little more eye contact, a few more words each time. It wasn't flirty exactly, more like comfortable familiar, but I still hadn't asked her out again. I didn't want to rush it. I wanted to do it right. Then on Wednesday evening after my shift ended, I finally texted her. Me would love to see you again. Any chance you are free this weekend? A few minutes later, my phone lit up. Grace, I'm free, but this time I choose the place. I stared at the message for a moment, smiling like a kid. I replied, deal. She sent me a pin on the map, some small lake about 30 minutes outside of town. I'd never been there. Her next message said, Grace, trust me, just bring yourself. I'll take care of the rest. That Saturday, I followed the GPS through back roads lined with trees and open fields. The town faded behind me as the streets narrowed and the traffic disappeared. Finally, I saw her car parked on the side of the road next to a path that led down toward the lake. She was already there waiting by the trailhead with a light jacket, jeans, and a picnic basket in one hand. Hey, I said, stepping out of my car. Hey, she replied, glad you made it. I didn't even know this place existed. She smiled. That's the point. We walked together along the path. It wasn't a long hike, maybe 10 minutes through some light woods, and then we were there, a small, quiet lake completely still surrounded by trees starting to change colors. No people, no noise, just nature. I used to come here years ago, she said, before I moved away. You grew up around here. Not exactly. It's complicated. We found a spot near the water and laid out a blanket. She unpacked the basket, sandwiches, fruit, a small bottle of wine, even real glasses, not plastic. She'd thought of everything. I didn't expect all this, I said. She laughed softly. I'm full of surprises. We ate, talked, and watched the water ripple with the breeze. After we finished, she asked if I could build a small fire. There was already a fire ring with some logs around it. Think you can handle it, city boy? I grinned. Watch and learn. I gathered kindling, found some dry wood nearby, and within 15 minutes we had a small fire crackling. She looked impressed. Okay, she said, lifting her glass. I underestimated you. I get that a lot, I replied, clinking her glass lightly with mine. For a while we just sat there watching the flames, sipping slowly, wrapped in a silence that felt warm instead of awkward. Then she set her glass down, pulled her knees up to her chest, and said, There's something I need to tell you. Her voice had shifted, softer, more serious. I nodded, not saying anything. She took a breath. A few years ago, I had a family, a husband, 2 kids, a little boy and a girl. We were coming back from a weekend trip, just a normal Sunday. It was raining. Some guy was driving drunk. He ran a red light, hit us on my side. I was the only one who survived. The air felt still. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just listened. I broke 3 ribs, my collarbone, my leg. Spent 6 weeks in the hospital. But the physical part, that was the easy part. She stared into the fire, her face lit by the glow. For a long time, I didn't leave the house. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't want to keep going. But you can't live like that forever. Or maybe you can, but I didn't want to. I still couldn't find words. What do you say to something like that? She turned to me and gave a sad smile. So if I seem guarded or slow to open up, that's why. Coming here with you, it's not a date to me. It's something more. It's an attempt. An attempt, I asked gently, to feel like a person again, to remember what it's like to laugh or trust, or talk to someone without feeling like I'm wearing a mask. My chest felt tight, not because I was scared, but because I was honored. She didn't owe me any of this. She didn't even need to explain herself. But she did. "I'm so sorry, Grace," I said quietly. I I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," she replied. "See, but I wanted you to know." I nodded, trying to keep my expression steady. I was young and yeah, maybe I hadn't seen much in life yet, but I knew enough to know this moment mattered. We sat in silence a little longer. She leaned back on her elbow, staring up at the sky that was just starting to turn pink from the setting sun. "You've got a kind heart," she said softly in a steady energy. "That's rare." I smiled, still trying to process everything. "Thanks for trusting me." She looked over and gave a small nod. "Thank you for making me feel noticed." Those words hit deeper than anything else she'd said all day. It wasn't flirtation. It wasn't a compliment. It was truth. And I knew right then that no matter what happened next, whether this turned into something more or just stayed what it was, I'd remember this day for the rest of my life. Eventually, we packed up, put out the fire, and walked back to the cars. It was quiet, but not awkward. Peaceful. At her car, I hesitated. "Will I see you again?" She gave a tired smile. "I think I'd like that." We didn't hug. We didn't kiss. It didn't feel right. Not then. But as she drove off and I stood there alone with the smoke from the fire still clinging to my clothes, I knew something had shifted. Not just in her and me, too. The next few days felt strange. Not bad, just quiet. Grace still came to the cafe each morning like usual. Same order, same polite smile, but something had changed between us. Not in a dramatic way. She wasn't avoiding me, and I wasn't overstepping. But there was a softness now, a mutual awareness. She didn't just feel like the beautiful woman who comes in for coffee anymore. She felt like someone I knew really knew, even if only a part of her. She hadn't told me everything. I didn't expect her to, but what she had shared about the accident her family had stayed with me. I couldn't stop thinking about the way she looked at the lake, the way her voice cracked slightly, but never broke. She was stronger than anyone I'd ever met, but also lonelier. We talked more during those short cafe visits. Not deep conversations, but warmer ones. She started asking about my day, what time I finished work, what kind of music I liked. Little things. And I could tell she felt safer, like some invisible wall had come down. I didn't want to push her. I didn't want her to think I was expecting anything. But part of me hoped quietly, carefully that we weren't done spending time together. So one evening after work, I took a chance. I called her not a text, a real call. She answered on the third ring. "Hey, hey," I said. "I was thinking if you are not busy tonight, maybe we could go somewhere. Nothing fancy, just a drive." There was a pause. Not a long one, just enough to make me wonder if I'd overstepped. "Sure," she said, "but I picked the place again." I smiled even though she couldn't see it. "Of course, text me the location." She did. It was another quiet spot, a small overlook on the east side of town up on a hill with a view of the city lights below. I hadn't even known it existed. I brought some takeout Thai food, nothing fancy, and we met there around 8:20 p.m. She was already sitting on the hood of her car when I arrived, legs crossed, hair in a loose braid over one shoulder. She looked calm, like this was her place or escape. I parked next to her, stepped out with the food in hand and smiled. "Hope you're hungry." "I'm always hungry," she said with a smirk. "People assume otherwise, but I eat like a teenager." We sat on the edge of the hood, food containers between us, watching the sky turn from orange to deep blue. The city lights blinked below like lazy fireflies. "This view is incredible," I said. "I come here sometimes when I can't sleep," she replied. "I don't even always get out of the car. I just sit and watch. It helps me remember I'm still here." That sentence hit me hard. We didn't talk much while we ate. Just quiet conversation about favorite movies, weird customers, and her terrible first car that stalled every time she turned left. At one point, she looked at me and said, "You know what I've realized lately? What? I miss small talk." I blinked. "Really?" She nodded. "I used to hate it, thought it was pointless. But after you lose everyone and silence becomes normal, you start craving the sound of someone just asking how your day was." I didn't say anything right away. I just looked at her, feeling this weight in my chest I couldn't quite describe. "I'm glad you texted me," she added. "I wasn't sure you would." "Neither was I admitted. "I didn't want to push. I just wanted to see you again." "You're not pushing," she said softly. "You're kind. I forgot what that feels like." We sat there for a while longer, leaning back, legs dangling off the edge of the car hood. The city looked distant and quiet. The stars were starting to come out, and the air was cool but not cold. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I keep thinking about what you said that day in the cafe." "What did I say?" She glanced at me. "You told me I looked amazing for 42. "Oh," I chuckled nervously. "Yeah, that just kind of slipped out." "I know," she said. "That's why it meant something." I turned my head to look at her. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't teasing. She looked thoughtful, almost fragile. "Most guys your age, they see me and assume I'm a mom, a widow, a woman with baggage. You looked at me like a person, like a woman. And I'm not saying I need that validation, but it reminded me of who I used to be." I swallowed. "You still are her." "Maybe," she said. "Maybe I'm finding her again." We sat in silence after that. I could have said a million things. That she was beautiful, that she was brave, that I didn't care about her age or her past. But none of those words felt right. None of them felt big enough. So instead, I said nothing. And maybe that was the right thing. Eventually, we packed up the food, tossed the trash, and stood beside our cars. "Thanks for coming out here," she said. "Thanks for showing me the place." We didn't hug. We didn't kiss. There was no music swelling in the background. No dramatic moment, just two people standing under a quiet sky, slowly learning how to exist in each other's orbit. Before she got in her car, she said, "Text me when you get home." "I will." And then she was gone. As I drove back down the hill, I realized something. This wasn't a love story, at least not yet. This was about trust, about two people with completely different lives and losses meeting in a space between grief and healing and somehow finding comfort there. I didn't know what came next, but I knew I wanted to be a part of whatever it was. A month passed. Grace kept coming to the cafe. Still every morning, still the same cappuccino with almond milk. Still the same seat by the window. But now every time she came in, we talked longer. She started asking for my opinion on random things, what books to read, whether she should change her hair, if a movie was worth watching. Her tone was lighter. Her smile less guarded, but there was always something quiet underneath it. Not distance, more like a shadow she'd learned to live with. We didn't go on any official dates after the lake or the overlook. There were no candle-lit dinners or surprise kisses. But we kept seeing each other. Sometimes we'd go for a walk after my shift. Sometimes she'd invite me to join her on errands like helping carry things from the farmer's market or picking out plants for her apartment. She started trusting me with little pieces of her life. I remember one afternoon we were sitting in her kitchen. She was trimming basil and making tea, and I was just there doing nothing, really just being there. And I realized how rare that feeling was. The quiet kind of comfort where neither of you needs to talk for things to feel okay. But I also started to feel something else, a question, a slow building pressure in my chest. What is this? What are we doing? I didn't want to ruin it by pushing too hard or by assuming anything, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were floating in something undefined, and I didn't know how long that would last. One evening after we had dinner at a quiet diner just outside town, We sat in my car for a long time without speaking. The windows fogged a little. The only light was the red glow from the diner sign behind us. I finally asked, "Do you think we're just friends?" She looked at me surprised but not offended, just thoughtful. I think she paused. I think you're the first person in years who makes me feel safe and light and real again. But I also think I'm not ready for more than that. I nodded slowly. I had expected it, but hearing it still stung. I don't want to lead you on, she continued. I care about you deeply, but the part of me that used to know how to love like that, she's still somewhere far away, and I don't want to pretend I'm ready when I'm not. I looked down at the steering wheel. I understand. I'm not saying never, she added quickly. Just not now. We didn't talk much after that. I drove her home, walked her to her door, and when she turned to go inside, she touched my arm and said, "Don't disappear." "Okay, I won't." The next few weeks we stayed in touch, but things were different. A little more space, a little more silence between texts. She still came to the cafe, still smiled, still made small talk, but the emotional weight of before had lightened, maybe even faded. One Thursday morning, she came in and sat across from me after my shift. "I've been thinking," she said, "about moving." "Moving," I repeated. "Yeah, I've been here long enough to catch my breath, and now I think I need something new, a different place, a slower town. I have a cousin in Colorado. She said I could stay with her a while." I tried to hide my reaction, but she saw it. "I didn't tell you this to hurt you," she said. "I told you because I didn't want to just disappear." "When are you leaving?" "Next week." I nodded. "So this is it then?" She looked at me, not with regret, but with a quiet kind of gratitude. "You've been a beautiful part of a very dark chapter," she said, "and I will never forget that." I smiled through a lump in my throat. "Neither will I." We stood up, and this time we hugged. Not a quick, casual hug, a real one. The kind that holds meaning, the kind that closes something gently. A week later, she was gone. No dramatic goodbye, no airport scene, just a soft text the night before. "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." I kept working at the cafe. Life went on. Her table by the window stayed empty for a while. And then someone new started sitting there, but I never stopped remembering. Grace didn't become my girlfriend. She didn't become the woman I married or the one I built a life with, but she became something I'll carry forever. The person who taught me that healing doesn't always come with romance, and that sometimes just being there for someone is enough. We still text every now and then. Not often, just a line or two. I know she's okay. I hope she's happy, and I'm grateful I met her, even if only for a season. This wasn't a love story with a kiss at the end, but it was a real story. Jake and Grace's story teaches us that sometimes the greatest gift we can offer is simply being there for someone without expectations or demands. At 23, Jake, a barista with big dreams, noticed Grace, a woman carrying the weight of unimaginable loss, her family taken in a tragic accident. Their connection, born from a bold compliment in quiet moments, wasn't a sweeping romance, but a profound exchange of trust and understanding. Grace's courage to share her pain and Jake's choice to listen without pushing helped her rediscover her sense of self. This reminds us that healing often comes not from grand gestures, but from small, sincere acts: listening, noticing, showing kindness. Jake didn't fix Grace's grief. He gave her space to feel human again, proving that our presence can be enough to light someone's path through darkness. Though Grace moved on, their bond left Jake wiser, showing that life's most meaningful connections don't always last forever, but always leave a mark. In a world that rushes past pain, let's slow down, see those around us, and offer compassion, knowing it might be the lifeline they need. What did Jake and Grace's story teach you about kindness or connection? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm eager to read them. If this story touched you, please subscribe and join our community for more stories that inspire and heal. Let's keep learning life's lessons together.